when you have a point guard like AJ, it seemed like he was attacking north and south down the lanes. As a big man, particularly on the one layup that you had that he gave you the wraparound, but also on the miss that he had. I mean, how much of a difference is that to maybe have some things to clean up when a point guard is attacking the rim like that?
I think for the team as a whole, it opens up a lot of different options. You know, when you get that penetration into the paint, there's a lot of kickouts and people collapse, and like the dump offs, that the one that he gave me in the game, even if he does miss the layup and he just gets it on the board, it makes it easier for the wings to crash in, maybe get a tip dunk for us to get the ball and get it back out to an open three. You know, it helps our team a lot for sure.
Go next to Matt Charbonneau.
Malik, you mentioned just a minute ago about getting a win and playing good teams. You got another really good team coming in tomorrow. I guess what's the mindset? I know Tom said the other night, you beat Nebraska, that's great, but there's going to be so many more tough games in this conference. What's the mindset going into this one now, knowing you have yet another tough team ahead of you?
Like I said, it's mostly we're just kind of focused on ourselves not ourselves, but like we're focused on improving what we need to do to get better, along with knowing that after every single game, there's going to be another good team that we're going to have to play, because that's how the Big Ten is.
Does that, when you have so many good teams and tough games, does that keep you from – I know sometimes when you lose 3, you feel like you want to get it all back at once, but does that kind of help you guys focus on each game at a time and not try and look too far ahead?
I think it does. When there's good games, every game that you're playing in, it helps you stay focused to know that you have to be on your A game every time.
We'll go next to Audrey Dahlgren from WLNS.
Hi, Malik. What do you think that you guys did well the other night and that you hope will carry into this game against Rutgers? What were some of the positives that you took away from it that maybe you didn't see in the first 3 games of the Big Ten season?
We started to string a lot of stops together, especially in the first 5 minutes of that second half. We started off really well, and that's something that we were really proud of. And the next level of improvement for us is just being able to keep that run going for the rest of the half and through 40 minutes of the game.
Thank you.
That appears to be all the questions that we have for Malik, so we're going to say thank you to him. And we will follow back up shortly with AJ Hoggard. All right, we are about to be joined by AJ Hoggard. And if we can direct questions to the chat, please, for AJ, and we can get started. We'll go first to Lindsay Huddleston from SMS.
Hi, AJ. This is Lindsay. You really showed a lot of maturity on the court. A lot of us are just getting to know you and becoming familiar with you. The way you played the other night, is that pretty much typical of how your game is? Or is that what we can expect to see more of in the future?
I would say, yeah, just competing each and every day against my teammates kind of prepared me to come out and play calm and mature as I did out there. So I feel like that would be something going forward that you can expect out of me.
And a quick follow-up, you probably had an idea you were going to get in that rotation with all the changes. How do you not allow yourself to get too excited or too pumped up when you're going to get that opportunity?
Just got to continue to work and just build on what we're doing here and just continue to get better as a team to win games. So it's just never too high and too low. You just got to keep yourself level-headed, because there's each and every night you're going to see a good team. So you got to just bring it every night and not be too high or be too low.
Very good. Thank you.
We'll go next to Chris Solari.
Hey, AJ, I kind of wanted to – what was the priority going into this for you in particular? Was it getting the ball moving? Was it attacking north and south? What were the biggest points that coach emphasized to you in taking that role on?
The biggest points was ball moving, of course, not having it so stagnant, and also getting out on our break and making it easier on our wings to get easy and cheap baskets, like for Aaron, for Josh, even get some hitbacks for Joe. It was kind of just moving the ball and getting out on our break.
We'll go next to Stephen Brooks from 24/7 Sports.
Hey, AJ, I wanted to ask you before the Nebraska game, the handful of games you got into there, 6 or 7, whatever it was, what'd you learn in that first stretch that sort of helped you once you got that first start? And obviously your minutes went way up in that Nebraska game, but those first games, what'd you learn about your first college experience and things like that?
I learned a lot from them. I learned that the pace is different than high school. I learned that you got to bring it each and every night, no matter who you're playing, if it's conference or non-conference. So it was just a lot of things that I learned that helped mature me to be ready to go in the Nebraska game.
And how do you just evaluate yourself in that Nebraska game? Obviously, it was your first and only start to this point, and a lot of room to go and everything. But just how did you think you did the other night?
I would say I played solid. It's a lot of more things I could pick up on, defensive things, watch film, and get better at a lot of the other little things. But other than that, offensively, I would say solid. But defensively, there's things I got to pick up on.
Got it. Thanks, man.
We'll go next to Matt Charbonneau.
AJ, it seemed like the other night, obviously you didn't have a ton of minutes before the last couple of games. It seemed like in this game the other night, even as a freshman point guard, you never really seemed overwhelmed by the moment. It never seemed too big for you. Did you feel comfortable right away, right from the beginning of that game?
I felt when your teammates feel comfortable in you, you have no choice but to feel comfortable in yourself. The guys were kind of giving me words of encouragement and just helping me get ready to prepare for playing those minutes because I haven't in the games prior. I say the team helped me a lot, keep me level-headed and keep me focused and ready to go. And
what about I know you talked a little bit about what you got to improve on. What about in terms of your playing time, how long a stretches you can go? Do you feel like you're improving in that sense and conditioning and all that so far?
Yes, I would say I'm improving. There's always room for improvement in that area. Can never get too comfortable in that area, but there's more room for improvement. But I would say as of right now, yeah, I feel comfortable.
Thanks.
We'll go next to Kyle Austin from M Live.
Yeah, AJ, I want to ask a little bit just about your conditioning too, because I know you missed a little time in the preseason with the injury, and coaches were on you to change your weight a little bit. At what point did you feel like you were kind of hitting your groove as far as getting there on the court and feeling good out there?
I would say I was kind of feeling good a couple weeks after I came off of surgery, getting back to feeling comfortable with my knee and things of that nature. I just felt like I had to improve on the conditioning. I didn't take no time off from conditioning when I was out, wasn't practicing. So I felt like it was just in competing each and every day in practice the way we compete here. So I guess it kind of helped me going forward in the game.
We have time for a couple more questions. We'll go to Audrey Dahlgren next.
Hi, AJ. The point guard position is usually an extension of Tom Izzo on the floor traditionally at Michigan State. And so how have you embraced that role, or what have you learned in your first start from, starting at the point guard position, and just what added responsibilities have you maybe taken on since all of this?
I learned a lot. Learning a lot, being a freshman here and starting a point guard for the first time. It takes a lot of responsibility, getting guys in spots, saying things that he needs to be referred to the players on the court at the time, being extension to him, like you said. It takes a lot, especially playing point guard here is a little different than the traditional point guard spot anywhere else. So I'm kind of still learning a little bit, but I felt like I kind of picked it up a little faster than some.
How have you seen that then? You say it's different than other places.
It's just the way we do things here, running on the break all the time, pushing, getting the sets, making sure being vocal, kind of like leading the team on the court from his standpoint because he's not out there with us.
Thank you.
We'll wrap it up with a question from Chris Solari.
Yeah, you mentioned, AJ, about the defensive aspect, and Coach mentioned that as well the other night. What things in particular do you feel like are that you need to do a little better? And I guess on top of that, what challenges do those Rutgers guards present for you guys right now?
I would say for me on the defensive side, not getting caught relaxing, ball watching. In the Rutgers guards, I feel like they bring an aggressive attack towards us, so we have to be ready to go and ready to defend from the get-go and just be ready down in our stance the whole time for the whole 30 seconds.
AJ, thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
And we'll have Coach up shortly. AJ, thank you. You're doing well. All right, we are about to be joined by Coach Izzo. And we are now joined by Coach Izzo. And Coach, if we can start with an opening statement, and then we'll take questions through the chat.
Well, anytime you're on a losing streak, you're just happy to win a game. Sometimes you need to find a way to win. I thought there were some things we did in that game that were very, very good. I wasn't real pleased with the finish, but give Fred credit. I mean, he's got 3 or 4 guys on that team. Allen and McGowan are 2 of the better players that we'll face in this league. And they, caught fire at the end. We're still not finishing games, but we needed to get our wings going. I thought AJ helped do that. He got people the ball. I thought Aaron Henry played his best game as a Spartan, and doesn't surprise me. He did the things he had to do. He got to the free throw line. He got in the paint. He pulled up and hit a couple of shots. He made a couple threes. He just kind of did it in the way he should do it. And I think Josh Langford starting to, play a little better, and I expected that. I thought AJ did a pretty solid job on the offensive end. He's got some work to do on the defensive end, but, did some things that I think are going to help us. And that was good. My next line of business is to make sure that we get Joey, who just isn't getting as many shots as I'd like, and Rocket, putting him in a position on that wing or on the break where he can really do some things. If we can get those 2 guys going, both on the offense and defensive end, I think our team improves a lot. Good teams got 2 or 3 guys that are really playing well, and they got 2 or 3 guys that fit the roles, and that's what I'm trying to do with ours. As far as Rutgers goes, no one I like in this league more than Steve Peichel, not because we're playing him. He's just been a guy that since day one, he has humility and humbleness. He kind of coaches with an old school mentality. His teams are tough. They work hard. And I love the way he's built it. It reminds me of what we did here. He got those freshmen, got a couple kids, local kids. He played those freshmen and took his lumps. Thought last year they got better. This year they're a lot better. I mean, there's no question that Ron Harper has turned himself into not only one of the best players in the league, but I think one of the better players in the country. I think he's upped his value tremendously. And I think that's what happens when a team plays together. Baker was hurt a little early. He was their point guard last year. He's not even back to true form yet, but he is improving each and every game. And then you got those other 2 wings, Mathis and Young, and Young's got to be one of the other most improved players in the game. So you put all that together, they've now got experience. They got experience that took their lumps. And I think that's always a critical part. At least that's the way it was for us, because guys know what it's like to go through the grind and fail. And this day and age, it's hard to let anybody fail. They failed early, and they just kept getting better. And that's a great credit to Steve and his team. And then to top it off, Miles Johnson, a kid that could barely get up and down the court his freshman year, is blossoming into a very nice player. Then you got the 2 young kids coming off the bench. So they've got experience now. They were a little short on depth because of some injuries. They're getting that back. I still think this is one of the best teams in the league. And I think they might have as well coached team as that we have in this league. So that's where I'm at with Rutgers. That's where I'm at with Michigan State. I'll take questions.
We'll start with first question from Matt Charbonneau.
Tom, I know the Nebraska win you don't have a parade or anything for, and you've talked about the difficulty of this conference. Is the upside of it almost that when you have another tough team coming in a couple nights later, it offers you that opportunity to really kind of build some momentum at this point?
Yeah, I think so. I'd be lying to you if I told you yesterday's and today's practices weren't better, just because, everybody's human, even writers get down if their team's not winning, you know, parents get down, girlfriends get down, players get down, coach gets down. I mean, just the way it works. And so I think that's true. You know, this will be our 5th ranked team that we've played. And so we've got to keep everything in perspective a little bit. It's only our 2nd home game of 5. And I'm not sure home or away is as much of an advantage it used to, but it still is different. And so I think bringing in a team that I think, you know, they all but beat Iowa the other day. They got a big win over Illinois. This is a very, very good basketball team. They had Ohio State down 15-12 most of the game. And then all of a sudden, the last 6-7 minutes, I think Ohio State went on a 21-1 run. And so this team, I mean, I say it could be undefeated. And I think, too, that they're getting some people back now. You know, I thought Baker was going to be one of the best players, and he is going to be, but it's taking some time for him to get back from the injury. So, yeah, getting him in here and getting a chance to really see where we're at, I think is important. As I said, I think for us to be great, we got to get Rocket and Joey going a little bit more, and some of that is on me. And so I'm going to take that challenge and see if we can do it both ways.
Yeah, and the way AJ played the other night, a lot of people talking about, hey, maybe Michigan State's finding some things out at point guard. How do you see him responding to that? Maybe some of that, you know, that positive reaction out there. Is he the kind of guy that can handle that stuff and not, you know,
we're going to find out. You know, Today's practice, I made sure he knows that he's still a freshman that doesn't know anything. You know, I think that's all part of the process. And the great part is he wasn't a McDonald's coming in, you know, so he hasn't been over pampered, although every kid's been pampered nowadays, but he hasn't been over pampered. His dad is a guy that is pretty hard on him. So I think, you know, he keeps his humility and keeps working. I mean, it's not like he was Cassius Winston out there, but at the same time, I think you're right. I think he ran our team. I think he can make some plays on the break that come natural to him. And that's kind of what we're looking for. And, but, you know, you got to give Aaron and Josh credit too. They did some things with the ball when we got it to them. And so I think we're going to keep building on that. You know, I've been my never ending chore at center. But if I had to be honest with you, I feel like I'm getting some progress out of Mahdi. And I think I don't believe I'm going to say this because I keep going up and down with him, but Marcus Bingham has been very good in practice about last week. And so, you know, we're going to need his size some too. So, you know, we're making some progress. We got a long way to go. And yet I've been pleased with the way we practiced. And hopefully that'll mean we'll start playing consistently better.
Go next to Chris Solari.
Tom, with AJ, just watching him kind of go north and south down the lane a little bit, how much does that help and affect the big guys, both from his ability to get in there and draw guys, and maybe some of the missed shots as well? And you've talked a lot about the missed shot being a good force of offense for the big men.
Yeah, I think it's very true, Chris. I think, you know, you've got to penetrate. If you penetrate, you get a chance to get to the free throw line more, which we did. The last 2 games, we've gotten to the free throw line a little bit more. We talk about when you get in there and you get a shot up, you know, bigs are helping on you, and that gives our other bigs a chance to rebound. We get some chance for kickouts, which we're just starting to work on, you know, because people are swarming you. There's still a lot of growth in this team and a lot of growth in each one of our personnel. But if you get some of the things, and I keep saying it, it's no insult to anybody. It's just everybody plays their position. Everybody does their job. And I'm not sure that the coach's job is to put players in a position they can be successful. And so when I said I look in the mirror, you know, sometimes you don't have as great an opportunity to do that, but you got to find it. And we've been searching. We're trying to find it. But I still think for us to be great, AJ's got to do that. But Rocket and Joey now got to take their game another level. And if we're going to, you know, take another step up, it won't be just what AJ does. It'll be what all 4 of those other guys do.
And as a follow with that, you mentioned about the rebounding as well. I mean, the last 2 games you guys have been out rebounded. Is that an area for concern, or do you emphasize that maybe a little bit more here, particularly with Rutgers, the way they've been so aggressive?
Yeah, I think it tells a lot about our program and the things we've done. You guys have been at a million practices where we played the war game, and people, well, it's too physical, or well, it's this and that, Well, this year we didn't do it. I mean, we didn't do it all in May, June, July, August, September. I mean, October here, remember, we still weren't allowed to have contact. And so I think it reaffirms my belief that if you don't practice it, you don't do it. And now, it's been a little harder because you got games so often. So, I think we'll get better at it, but some of it is we've been smaller. Some teams we've played have been bigger. Some of it is we're not getting enough rebounding from our wings. I mean, Josh got one big one, but he got 1 rebound. Aaron has got to rebound more. We think Gabe Brown's got to rebound a lot better. And if we do those things, Hauser's been rebounding pretty well, and maybe get some size, whether it be Mahdi. Actually, the guy that's been rebounding pretty well is Malik. So we need to get Mahdi. We need to get some of our big guys going a little bit on that. But I think for me, it affirms that if you don't work on it, you're not as good at it. And that has been one of our staples. I mean, it's not like we're getting killed on the boards. And remember, everything's been kind of screwed up by that Minnesota loss where we take 70 shots and make 18. I think they got 100 rebounds that day and maybe more. And so it kind of distorts things a little bit too.
We'll go next to Lindsay Huddleston.
Hey, Tom, a few weeks ago when you were talking to us and you were praising the Breslin Center facilities, you mentioned taking like a quiet walk around there. And I'm just curious, has that been something that's been somewhat of a ritual for you, like your pre-practice free throws? And the reason I bring it up is the NCAA announced that there's going to be that bubble format with all games being in Indianapolis. And I wonder if that's something that you can kind of see the benefit of, kind of, focusing on one space and getting the most out of it.
I think it is. I really do. And I think our people did do an incredible job. It was kind of funny. Mike Garland and I walked down there today because sometimes we practice upstairs, sometimes down. We hadn't been downstairs in a while because we had a road game. We had a lot of road games. And, Mike said, man, it's even looking better because they've added a few more things. I've got one more thing for the families I'm going to do. And then that'll be it. But, I just appreciate the job everybody's done. I mean, this has not been an easy time on any of us. And it's not been an easy time on you guys. That's why we're trying our best to get Max to give you some access. And I keep saying there's got to be more, but when you got a game, you get in at 3 in, get home at 4, and then you got a game a day, 2 days later. It's a little difficult on the players too. So the ritual is it just makes me appreciate all the alums that have played here and the people that helped me get, where I am. And I think for the players, we're trying to do one more thing where we're going to get their families up there. And the reason is they miss their families. Some of them have not seen anybody since July, and that's not the norm here because usually parents come up, we recruit in a geographic area, and for the most part, ironically, the mom that's been up has been Julius's, and she's from the longest distance away. Tellis is usually out from Alabama. I just haven't been able to do that as much. So, we understand it's been hard on them. I don't know if we'll ever really appreciate what this year has been like for all of us. And yet they're 20. I'm a little older than I should be able to handle a little bit more. I
get it. All right. Thank you, Tom.
We'll go next to Jerry Carino from the Asbury Park Press.
Hi, Tom. Greetings from New Jersey. When you watch film of Rutgers, Iowa from Saturday, what jumped out at you?
Well, I thought Rutgers could have won the game. And, it sounds corny because we play them, but I've talked to Steve a lot over the first couple of years he's been there, especially early on when he was struggling because I just saw something in him I really appreciated as a coach. But, you know, I think those wings have improved so much. Mathis and Young have improved so much. And, I mean, everybody knew Harper was going to be good. But I think as Baker comes on, you know, they maybe were a little lax in depth inside. You know, they had to play is it Ryan? What's the kid? 21, Ryan Reber. There you go. And, you know, maybe he wasn't ready for all that, but I think they could have won that game just as easy as not. And I really do mean this. I think as Baker continues to get back to his form of last 2 years, I mean, a year ago, he might have been the best player on their team, right? And so the injuries have set him back a little bit. And yet that was a hell of a basketball game, and one that, especially the way the one ended the year before with the bank-in shot from behind the backboard, I thought the same thing was going to happen the other way, and maybe Rutgers was going to win it. But, you know, very, very good game, very good Big Ten game, and physical, guys playing hard. You know, Steve's guys, they mix it up, they play hard. You got to love that about them.
Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
We'll go next to Jana Bartle from the State News.
Hi, Tom. My question's kind of similar to Lindsay's. With the announcement earlier today with the NCAA tournament taking place completely in Indianapolis, what are your thoughts on that, or Indiana? What are your thoughts on that, and how does that change your expectations maybe of the tournament?
It's great to me. I think it's smart. I really do. I think it's a good job by the NCAA. I think, you know, how they're going to do it, you know, I don't know, but, you know, not because it's local for us or more local, because who knows if you even, you know, where you are, if you're in, if you're not in, where it's going to be played, who you're going to be playing. Those are all the things that are exciting about the tournament. But I think they're trying to look ahead. And when it's already the middle of January, you're only a couple months away, and you got to make plans. You know, you can't do this late. So I think they've hung on to see how this pandemic's going to go, how the vaccines. But we know that we're going to be in this for a while yet, where it's not going to be freedom, except in these crazy states that lets everybody walk around without masks on and encourages that crap. So other than that, I think if we take care of our business, I think this is going to be the best alternative. And I think, you know, we're doing what's best for the players, what's best for the game, what's best for the schools. So, you know, it works so well in a different kind of way for the NBA. I think they've already got the blueprint. I think Danny Gavitt and that group has done a great job of checking with the NBA and figuring out how they could kind of do things somewhat similar. It's going to be crazy down there. I'm hoping by then fans are allowed somewhere. I'm hoping even media. I'm even pulling for you guys to get in to show you how I've, you know, maybe it's a New Year's resolution. I don't know, but I think it'll be really good. I really do.
Thanks.
We'll go next to Brendan Quinn.
Tom, with Rockets sliding over to the 2, and the guys there are already kind of being bulk minute guys, right? Aaron's at 30, Josh is 25, Gabe gets 20. How do you see that actually playing out in terms of the
Well, I think some of those guys will get a little less minutes. I think still Rocket's going to play some point. I just don't want the burden of that on him all the time. I really do. But he was getting 22, 23 minutes. I mean, I see him getting solid minutes. You know, what you got to realize about Rocket is he's still our best defender. He's still our most athletic guy. And I just put all that pressure on him to do those things that you have to do as a point guard. And I want him to have more freedom to do the things that he can do and get him the break, you know, drove baseline a couple times, made some good plays. But you're right. It's going to be that'll be the next challenge that I think will be fine. I talked to Gabe and Aaron and everybody. I mean, those 4 guys are a pretty good mix, but he'll still get more than a couple minutes at the point. It just won't be a steady dose of it.
Thanks.
Go next to Kyle Austin.
Tom, you mentioned a couple of times about wanting to get Joey going a little bit more. Does that just mean getting the ball to him more, getting him more shots, or the things you'd like to see him doing a little bit differently? How does that play out?
Both. You know, every divorce is, you know, it's a two-way street. There's, you know, and I looked at Joey and spent some time with him on the plane. In fact, all the way home, we watched some film of the Wisconsin game, of this game, of that game, to really look at why he isn't. And some of it is he's not being aggressive enough, and some of it is we're not getting the ball. I mean, he gets 6 shots a game. A shooter can't get in any rhythm in that way. So, you know, he's had a couple of injuries during games, and it kept him out some minutes and foul trouble once. But he's really a good player that we need. I mean, we need Joey. So we've put in some things for him that we think will help. And I think he has a good feel and understanding of what we're doing too. So it's going to get better. It's all part of what I told you. I said it'd take half a year for him and Josh. You know, Josh had a big game, but he just came off a game when he wasn't as good. We just got to get everybody playing together. And I think that'd be the common cry for most teams that are trying to work a bunch of new guys in. You know, that's what we're going to do. I mean, we're going to get him some shots. I mean, he's a guy that should get 10, 12 shots a game, not 6. And that's going to be my job a little bit, player's job a little bit, Joey's job a little bit. So we'll take a third, and we'll get this better.
We have time for a couple more questions. We'll go to Stephen Brooks.
Hey, Tom, I got 2 things for you. When you talk about getting Rocket back going and getting his minutes back, would starting him in place of Josh, is that in the thought process at all, or is that somewhere you don't want to go with that?
You know, I could go there. I think Josh would be okay with it. You know, Rocket has been great. I mean, he's been in here working every morning like I never seen. So I think like everybody goes through, you know, you come to that meeting when you do look in a mirror and you say, okay, I can blame this guy, and blame the situations, but what can I do to get better? What I love is he's trying to do the things he needs. Today, comes early, knocks on my door, wants to watch film. You know, I think he's really starting to understand what he has to do. You know, it's not what basketball was like for him. And, you know, you could go anywhere in the world and it's not going to be the way it is in college. And so I think he's good right now. You know, we do look at some things with Josh on minutes. He played a lot of minutes, but you know, we're not going to do that and burn him out. We talked about moving Aaron around a little bit. We have some things I think we're going to do. Rocket will be fine. He's been absolutely great. He's handled everything. And, you know, this has never been a place everybody wants to start. But I think when you've had 6th and 7th men that have been all Big Ten players, you had player of the year that was 6th man for 3 of his years. I just don't think it has the same, everybody understands it here a little bit better. And if you ask Rocket tomorrow, would you like to start? And he said no, I'd get rid of him. You know, I want everybody to want to start. But if you said, is it really bothering you? I think you'd be shocked at his answer. You know, he just wants to play and play good. And I think that's going to happen.
And then if I could ask you about Aaron and AJ's relationship, he's mentioned a couple of times that he's sort of taken AJ under his wing. I think he mentioned that might have been your idea or something you sort of pushed him toward. I think he hosted him on his recruiting visit maybe too. What did you see between those two that you wanted to sort of match them up a little bit?
Well, I think that's true. You know, he lives with Gabe, and Gabe has done a good job too, but Aaron has taken the AJ to Aaron. This was back in the summer, and you know, it helps. I mean, it helps when you got a veteran guy that'll help mentor a young guy. And I think the best of AJ is, you know, we haven't even scratched the surface because he is getting in better shape. That's going to help him. He does some things instinctively. I think he could be a very good defender before he's done. And I think Aaron being a complete player, not all the time consistently, that's what we're working towards. But I think AJ is going to be a rebounding point guard. I think AJ will be a defending point guard. I think he'll continue to work on his shooting, which he's more than adequate, and passing point guard. But he's got long arms, and I think he can do multi-dimensional things. That's why we thought we could play him at many different positions and still do. But and I think Aaron has some of those same qualities, you know, where he's more than one dimensional, and that's probably helped AJ.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
We'll go next to Audrey Dahlgren and then wrap it up with Chris Solari.
Hi, Tom. Happy New Year. You have mentioned Madi a couple of times in this press conference, but based upon his size and the league that you play in and some of the defensive things that he does, what is your end goal for him this year, as in terms of what would make this a successful freshman season for Madi?
It's already been successful for me if you've been around the kid at all, which unfortunately you guys haven't been able to be. He's an unbelievable kid, you know. I tell him, don't become Americanized. I mean, everything's yes sir, no sir. Everything is work your tail off. Everything is be on time. Take care of your business. I don't mean that as big an insult as I sound like I'm making in my own country, but I think sometimes he's not soft. He's not been pampered. He's not been given anything. Where he lives, you know, I laugh because Tom tells stories about where he lives. Tom lives in New York City compared to where Madi is from. And he's just such an incredible kid. He's got shot blocking ability. Remember, he too didn't play for 3/4 of last year. So he's just getting everything back. You know, of all the kids to miss out on a summer and fall, Madi was critical because, you know, he's still trying to get the English language down right. And I don't mean that insultingly either. He's just learning, you know, guy's a sponge. But what's going to be a successful season, I think he and Markey have got to keep getting better because we're going to need more size. And I think he's got it in him to do that. He had trouble with his hands early on. Now he's catching everything. I think one of the reasons is he's had that finger tape that he broke. But, you know, getting that up to 12, 14 minutes a game, 15, maybe even more, so that we have some consistency. He's big and wide. He can run like a deer. He's got quickness, so I think he'll be able to cover ball screens a little bit better. I mean, I think this kid's going to really help us. I think, like everybody, it's going to take till the second half of the season. But he's helped push Marcus. I think Marcus is better. Not that I'm giving up on Julius or not that I'm giving up on Thomas Kithier either. But I think you have a good point. Size is going to matter here pretty soon, and we're going to have to continue to develop these big guys, and we're working on it.
And just real quick, how have you seen, I mean, because initially when he first was out there, because we do some ISOs of the players, so we can see their eyes. And, you know, when he was first out there initially, his eyes were going like this, trying to figure out, you know, just read what was going on. How have you seen him become a little bit more comfortable, maybe since Eastern Michigan or, you know, early games in the season?
I guess that's the advantage of television and being able to zoom in on people, because you're so right. He was just like the game, as they say in the NBA or the NFL, you know, the game needs to slow down. Well, his game wasn't at double speed. It was 10 times double speed. And you're right. It was like so many things coming at him and this and that is so understandable. But because he's a student of the game, because he comes in and watches film, everything, you know, academics hasn't been easy for him because he never had an English language base. And how he did at the end of the semester compared to the beginning was remarkable. This kid is a sponge, and I think he is picking up things. But I think you're right on the money. You know, he's had so many things coming at him. It's not easy off the court because of school. It's not easier on the court because we're throwing new plays, and all of a sudden we got different games. He doesn't have a week between games and stuff. But I love how he's handled it. And of all the things, I say this, you know, I'm not happy with the way we played in some ways, but I'm also appreciative. I've got as good a kids. It's a shame that you don't get to be around them more. I probably should, maybe next week we have a little more off week, get everybody in front of a mic so you can all get to know them a little bit better would be a good idea. So I'll try to work on that.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll go last question to Chris Solari.
Tom, with the news today with the NCAA, just wondered, has the Big Ten revisited anything about the Chicago tournament? I mean, is it a possibility that it could maybe move to Indy for a dry run to get that shaped up? I don't know if you've heard anything about where the conference tournament's at right now.
No, I knew a lot about the NCAA stuff because I'm on those committees. I don't know as much about the conference stuff, to be very blunt and honest with you, not negatively or positively. But it seems like it would be a decent idea, but I don't know how much you can overload one city either. You know, I'm good with whatever they decide to do. You know, we've done a pretty good job in our league. I think we just had our first real postponement of any Big Ten games. I am worried about the next 2 weeks, though, since so many people went home for Christmas, and I know of more than a couple cases. And let me say this: I was so torn during Christmas about what to do, and where I heard some people say they felt sorry for the kids, I didn't. I was more worried about their safety. And I still think that we did the right thing and the best thing we could do. And I'm agreeing with Dr. Fauci that I think the next 2 weeks we could be in for worse because of what everybody did. And I don't think going home was all of it. I think just not abiding by the protocol that we should, as Americans, abide by after 9 months of the damn thing, but we still don't seem to listen. And if you think I'm on a soapbox, you're right, I am. But, you know, I think you look in the league and we've handled it pretty good as a league. We've handled it pretty good here. Some of it, I think, is the way we handle it. Some of it, I think we've had luck. We've been lucky. I mean, let's face it. I handled it well and got it. So I'm a walking case. But what they do in the Big Ten, if it's at Chicago, we're going to stick to our same protocol. If it's in Indy, I think it's a good question, Chris. But like I said, I knew what was going on with the NCAA stuff because I'm involved with it more. I do not know what's going on, the thoughts of the Big Ten. And really, I've been just trying to, you know, breathe through a straw from underwater here the last 2 weeks. So I don't know what's happened with it. Maybe in next week when we have a little time, I should do a better job of following up on that. I'll try to do that too and have a little better clue of what they're thinking or what's going on if they're sharing it. I'm not saying they will. The NCAA stuff, that's been talk on the committee for 2 months. And about a month ago, I thought it was pretty real. And today they announced it. So that's, I think Danny Gabbett, you know, when it's all said and done, you know, how the offensive, the running backs, I always buy, you know, diamond rings, a car. I've seen so many things that they bought for their linemen. All the coaches across the country should buy Danny Gabbett something because the job he's done in trying to both deal with the NCAA issues he has to deal with and yet get input from the coaches has been second to none. You know, his father was the godfather of the Big East and started that unbelievable conference that turned into a TV megastar, you know, just the way it all went. They say the chip off the old block or whatever. Danny, his son, has done that and more. His dad should be proud of it, but we should be happy because he is working relentlessly to make sure this tournament happens and that it comes off the right way. And before he's done, I think the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, I mean, he'll be in that discussion with all them when they're talking about their leagues, because I think he's done an incredible job with the way everything's went and the cards he's been dealt this year. And hats off to him.
Thanks, Tom.
I think that's all the questions we have. Coach, thanks for your time.
All right, guys, thanks a lot. Stay safe.